Hi everybody, it's Michael here with the long ago promised and way overdue part 2 of my review of the AluhotendV4 version 4 mostly metal hot end designed by the Jolly Grim Reaper and manufactured and sold by 3D Industries down in Australia. And I've had this hot end in my printer for about a month, and I gotta say I am really happy with it. I'm really impressed with what the Jolly Grim Reaper has been able to do as far as design goes. Really, this hot end, again, because it's not all metal, but it's what I would call mostly metal, is really, I think, a replacement for the J-head, or it's in that category. And certainly the J-head is a fantastic design that's been around a long time, and I think the AluhotendV4 has made some really nice improvements on it. Not the least of which is it is, in fact, mostly metal. It just has one little sheath of Teflon inside. So if worse comes to worse and you do damage something, you just pull out that sheath of Teflon and replace it, and you're right back in business. If you saw my earlier video where I reviewed the Magma hot end, which is I think we figured out it was a first cousin of the AluhotendV version 4. The real issue I had with the Magma was that it just didn't print PLA, well, period, really. There was nothing I could do to get it to extrude it, more than about 10 millimeters of it at a time. And for my printing style and needs, PLA is just too useful for me to just accept that I'm not going to be able to print with it. So that's why I was very excited to try PLA out with the AluhotendV version 4. And what I was able to do, and I guess got to say again, I am actually really impressed with this. This is a typical RepRap test object. This is an octopode that came from an object on Thingiverse called Barrel of Octopodes, which has several of these on a single sheet for printing. And as you can see, the reason I use this as a test object is there's lots of opportunities to get strings and for some of these openings to be closed up and to get blobs and all kinds of other stuff. It also has a lot of fine stuff out here and then some solid parts that have a little bit of infill in the middle. And this really is what I would consider to be a remarkably clean print. This just, everything is just like I want it to be. This is at a 0.2 millimeter layer height, and there's no blobs, there's no strings. Everything is just like I want it to be. Contrast that with one that I was able to do on the J-head. This is an older print, and you can see, well, maybe you can't see, but there are some strings here. Some of these openings are blobbed closed. There's a little bit of roughness. There are some blobs on the exterior of its head here, and there are some parts where you can see that the PLA it looks like it's crystallized or something, and it's just kind of, there's a little, I guess, chunkiness to it. So this is what I was able to do with the J-head. I find I got a much higher quality print with the AluhotendV version 4. Also worth noting, this particular object was printed at 40 millimeters per second on the perimeters, which is a fairly typical speed for a J-head. And just to see what it would do, this one actually was printed at exactly double that. This was 80 millimeters per second on the perimeters and 100 millimeters per second on infill, and that's what that got. At twice the speed, I was able to get that level of print versus half the speed for this guy on the J-head. Also, another object that I tested out was this is my Sasquatch silhouette in Christmas tree ornament form, and who doesn't need a Sasquatch Christmas tree ornament? And this is an object that lends itself to high-speed printing pretty well. It doesn't have a lot of complicated retractions or anything. And I was able to print this at 100 millimeters per second on the perimeters and also 100 on the infill. So I was able to print PLA very cleanly, very quickly with the AluhotendV version 4, which right there sold me on it. If I was going to be building another printer, which I am, which is intended to be primarily a PLA printer, this is absolutely the hot end I would go for. The choice is basically being this or the J-head. I would absolutely go for the AluhotendV just because it's able to extrude so cleanly and so quickly. ABS performance seems to be about on par with the J-head. It seems to, for some fairly complicated prints, what I have going right here is a set of what's going to be, that's going to be the Y-axis for a single sheet Prusa i3. That's going to be the feet for it anyway. And it seems to like to print here at about 40 millimeters per second on the perimeters and also on the infill, which is pretty standard for that's about what I would expect to get out of a J-head with ABS. Couple things about setting up with the AluhotendV version 4. One thing is it does seem to like to print just a little bit hotter. This plastic that I have right in here, this is glow-in-the-dark blue ABS, and I normally would print that with the J-head at about 225 degrees, and it seems to like it at about 240 with the AluhotEnd version 4. So that's to be expected. It's it's a more metal, less plastic, so it's going to have some different thermodynamic a different thermodynamic personality. So you just print a little bit hotter. I've also noticed that I think it's because of there's so little friction inside the top part of the hot end that whatever material's in there, if the hot end is hot, whatever material's in there will drip out, and so you will get some ooze. And then after that does drip out, then there's nothing left in the top of the hot end there. So what you're going to want to do is, or what I do anyway, is before I start a print, I just extrude 5 or 10 millimeters until I get a good stream of filament coming out, and then I know it's okay to start the print. But it's always a good idea anyway to purge your hot end whenever you're going to start a print. The other thing, because of that slickness, I guess, or the low friction inside, I also found I had to bump up my retraction settings just a little bit. With the J-head for ABS, normally I was using about a 1 millimeter retraction distance, and these are settings in Slicer. 1 millimeter retraction distance and about a 7 millimeter retraction speed with the J-head. And for the AluhotEnd version 4, I still use the 1 millimeter retraction distance, but I bump up the speed a little bit and retract at about 12 to 13 millimeters per second. That seems to be about what it likes. A couple other things I want to say about this, and then I'll cut it short. One thing I did notice that I wasn't really expecting, but it was a pleasant surprise, and this is I did break the first copy of the AluhotEnd version 4 that I got. This is not the fault of the design. This is not the fault of the manufacturing. This was me trying to basically force something to fit where it didn't, and I broke this with my hands. So I apologize. This should not in any way be taken as a slight against this hot end, which I think is great. But the point being, if you look on the end of this, this is a pretty standard nozzle. The conical shape goes right to a blunt point with an opening where the extrusion comes out, and then you compare that with the J-head right here, which I don't know if you can see this. The J-head has that same conical section, but then on the top of it, it has a straight cylindrical, almost like a little nipple right there where the extrusion comes out, and I'm sure that is there after careful consideration. But what I have discovered is that with the J-head, if you don't get the layering quite right, and this ends up digging a little furrow into the top layer that you're printing, it does create a little bit of a wall next to it. It's a pretty much straight up and down furrow, so that when the head comes by the other way, it will create a little, almost a little snowball and a little blob that's running around the top of your print until it either burns up, turns brown, or gets pushed overboard by when the hot end gets to the end of it. Either way, that's not a real happy, pleasant situation to be in. Now, what I have found is with the less aggressive point on the AluhotEnd version 4, this actually creates a much softer furrow. And what I have found is that in the event that the layers are not quite right, rather than creating a blob that gets pushed around the top of the print, this pretty much it's a much softer deformation. And it actually does tend to just kind of reabsorb the material in other places, so that you don't get this big snowball you're pushing around. You just get a little bump that gets smoothed out as the layers get printed on top of it. So I like that part of it quite a bit. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but I still like it. Okay, in conclusion, I gotta say, once again, I am really, really happy with the performance of the AluhotEnd version 4. I'm really glad I got a chance to check it out. This is going to be my new go-to hot end for whenever I need something that unless I'm needing to print exotics for whatever reason, this is the hot end I plan on using. I mean, what can you say? It's almost all metal. There's very little that can go wrong mechanically with it, and if it does, it's a very easy repair to just rebuild one of these things. There's just not that much to it. Very clean install, very predictable performance, very solid performer, and not for nothing, you sure can't beat the value. That I have a plan to build a printer that has dual extrusion here very shortly, and which means I have to buy 2 hot ends. And if I can get 2 of these for 55 Australian a piece, that is a fantastic deal. That's less than it would cost me for one Prusa Nozzle Mark II, for example. And I want to say that's getting pretty close to where I'd be buying 2 E3D hot ends. In any case, so if you're looking for a good replacement for a J-head, you're looking to print PLA primarily, or you're looking to, you're even if you just don't have the need to print something that's over 250 degrees, I'm going to give this one my highest recommendation. I think this is a fantastic, fantastic replacement for the J-head, and just overall, just an outstanding hot end. So congratulations to the Jolly Grim Reaper for a job well done. Best of luck to the Jolly Grim Reaper and 3D Industries. Hope you sell 1 million of these. I know I'm good for at least 2 or 3 more. And once again, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.